This Daytona 500 betting picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off of your first month and start making smarter bets today.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited. It is finally here. It is the Daytona 500.
Yes.
Let's go.
Oh, it's here. We're making picks for a real, true points race, the great American race, the Super Bowl, the real Super Bowl, Rod. Nobody cares about that stupid game yesterday where your team lost. This is the real Super Bowl. This is the one that matters. Oh, it's here. I'm excited. Let's fucking go. It's time to make some picks. Time to cash some tickets. Our third season doing this. That's just incredible to think about, to say. I'm so pumped. I'm so excited. It's going to be another super fun ride this year.
Christmas happens in December, but the real Christmas happens in February when we finally get to unveil the third season of this show. I know it's third season. Can you believe this is officially begins the third season?
Yeah, and like we had the Clash a couple weeks ago. We gave out picks, of course, for that. What picks we could with how the books treated us. That's okay. They're doing a better job this time. So, but like this is the real season, and it's so exciting. Can't believe we're 3 seasons into this. Yeah, man, I'm pumped. I'm ready to make some picks today.
Indeed. So first of all, I just want to extend a very heartfelt thank you to those of you who checked in on me yesterday, up to and including Cody, who sent me a very lovely message this morning reminding me that he does love me and that he is proud of everything that we've accomplished and that it's the real Super Bowl time. So you got to have a co-host like Cody who takes care of you, right? Or who's not afraid to run up on you and body check you and scream at your face and tell you that you're doing poorly. So, Cody, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody that checked in on me. Yes, my Niners did not win last night, but what can you do? I mean, you're up against.
Hopefully you followed Cody's bets from last week because, yeah, the day didn't end up so badly for you if that was the case.
Hey, my underdog picks did fantastic, though. Elijah Mitchell got more. Juszczyk got his. Like, all but one. Brock Purdy pushed on his 3 rush attempts.
That was one that killed me in a couple of different plays, but that's all right. It was still a good day. But anyways, Rod,
yes,
we get a lot of new listeners for this episode. Obviously, it's a new season. It's the Daytona 500, the biggest race of the year. So welcome. We appreciate you checking us out, giving us a chance. We hope you stick with us for the season. Obviously, we're available on all the podcasts, as you probably know, available on YouTube as well. We've got, the live chat we'll be interacting with, and we got a couple people over there. The JDK, boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, baby. Jeremy Landon checking in. It's time to go racing, boys. Yes, so excited. We're pumped for this. It's going to be a lot of fun. So welcome. Thanks for checking us out, giving us a try. I will mention, I'll give the super speedway speech, right? Betting on super speedways, it's the most fun way to bet. It's also not as easy as the rest of the season. So stick with us for the first couple of weeks. Once we get to Las Vegas, a more normal track, quote unquote, to predict will be a lot easier. But we're still going to have a lot of fun. And man, I love betting on super speedways. We're going to open the season with 2 of them. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's the most fun way to bet, in my opinion. So we're about to have a ton of fun.
And not just that, all 3 series are in action. We get trucks, we get Xfinity, we get the Cup Series. So we get the full gambit of everything. We get to see everything NASCAR has to offer all in this one week, all in this one Super Bowl of a weekend. And it starts on Wednesday. That's the cool part about this. The schedule is a little bit different than most race weeks, whereas they got what's called speed weeks. So if you are brand new to NASCAR, a typical week does not start on Wednesday. In fact, sometimes we're starting.
I wish it did.
I know, me too. I really got to go back to the days when everybody practiced all week. But no, but again, this is a different week, right? So we start on Wednesday. We got qualifying, which is not necessarily qualifying in that it's qualifying, but there's still several levels of qualifying left to go over the weekend. And that starts on Wednesday night. So Cody, explain the first qualifying and what that is even meant to do.
So yeah, you'll have your normal regular qualifying where they, go out and run. I think it's 2 laps. I don't remember how it is for Daytona. I think it is 2, but you go out, you put your lap down basically. And then if you qualify on the front row, you're locked in. First place, you're going to start on the pole. Second place, you're going to start outside row 1, unless you have to go to a backup car, which we'll get to in a minute. But you're locked into your spots. And then everything else from there on back. So third place. So after qualifying, you go into the dual races, which will be on Thursday evening. That's always fun. Short races to basically set the lineup for the 500, allow the open cars to race their way in. So the guy who wins the pole, he'll start, first place in the duel number 1. The guy who qualifies third will start second place. Fifth will start third, so on and so forth. The odd numbers determine the first duel. The even numbers determine the second duel. And so what will happen? Those duels will happen. Usually the guy who starts in the pole is going to drop out of the way and get out of the way and fall out of there because he's locked in. He need to race for it. Everybody else is racing to where they line up. If you win duel number 1, you start in third place, assuming you're not the pole sitter. Second place would then start 5th, 7th. That sets the inside. Duel 2 sets the outside. So that's how it goes. There will be, let's see, there's 36 spots. We're going to have 6 open cars in this. I should have double checked on this beforehand, but I don't remember if a couple of them lock in on time or I don't remember how they did that. I'll look into that when we get to the break here in a second and double check how that's going to work. But yeah, that's how we're going to set the lineup for the 500. So traditional qualifying on Wednesday night. And then Thursday will be those dual races, which we get DFS for those, or we have in the past anyways. I haven't seen those contests up there yet, but we have in the past. Those are always fun. I would assume those will be back. And then, yeah, that'll set the lineup for Sunday's 500, which let's cross our fingers that we actually get in on Sunday because that dirty R word in the forecast. We will not, of course, utter that word. We don't like to curse on this program. Not that word anyways, but hopefully that doesn't happen and we'll have our race on Sunday.
Yeah, and honestly, if you want to know where the weather's like, just schedule a race, right? That's what we talked about. And so listen, the good part about it is all that craziness though is just for the Cup. All the rest of the series do normal type of qualifying. Cup is the only thing that has all of the duels and all the other stuff. So as we get closer, and of course, if you're brand new to this show, we don't only do Cup picks. We actually, through the rest of this week, we'll do Xfinity. We will do trucks. We'll give you DFS. We'll give you Underdog. We'll give you all kinds of stuff to bet on, to play on, to have some fun with all week long. So, again, as we start to get into this qualifying, in fact, this will be the first with this week, Wednesday, we'll know kind of more of what's going on for the Cup Series as well. So when we start building our lineups for Underdog, for DFS, we don't have it solidified yet, but we definitely will have kind of a better idea of what's going on, especially with the pole sitter and that sense. So yeah, I mean, keep with us all week long because we've got, like I said, all 3 series that we'll be giving you. So this isn't it. This is not the only episode of the week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's and Trucks and Xfinity. If you've not gotten into them, if you've not bet on them, you've not played DFS on them, they are just as much, if not more fun than the Cup Series is. I feel like we've got a little more of an edge there as well, which is a lot of fun. Just real quick, Rod, I did find it. I said that 36, or I think I said 40. Well, I don't remember what I said, but there's 40 spots for 42 drivers is definitely what I meant to say if that's not what I said. So there's 42 drivers entered, 40 spots going to happen. 36 charter cars are locked in. Those are the cars that run every week. They have the charters, of course. And then you've got the 6 open drivers. The 2 fastest in qualifying night will lock themselves in unless they race then Thursday if they race in their thing, then the time would go to the next guy basically. So 2 of those open drivers will lock it in, and then the other open guys will race for it in the dual format on Thursday.
Swear to God, I got to get that sound of Al Michaels trying to explain the basketball playoffs. That's what it sounds like half the time when we start doing this stuff. But well, Cody, we said it as we were about to start recording. We're not getting into any news because we don't really care. We just want to make some picks. So I think it's time to start making some picks. How about you?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. But first, let me tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has a way to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long. NBA, NHL, and college basketball. But wait, NASCAR too. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite fantasy players' fantasy stats and cash in. You can win up to 100x with some spicy plays. You want a spicy play? Well, it may not be spicy, but I'm going to give you right now the one Chris Buescher. I'm going to tell that he's going to finish worse than 7th. That is my underdog pick for this episode right now. I'm going to tell you Chris Buescher is going to finish worse than 7th position in the Daytona 500. That is my underdog pick for today's show. So watch along, make your picks, maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up with the promo code RACE SGPN, Underdog's going to double your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code RACE SGPN. I hope I didn't stomp on one of your picks as a Chris Buescher in there, so I think we're good. I don't see Chris Buescher on.
You did not stomp on one of my picks. Just real quick to touch on the open drivers for this. Guys will not be locked into the race. We will be talking about some of them in our bets, so keep in mind if you place these bets before the field is set on Thursday night, check with your book, check on the rules. If you bet on one of these guys and they don't make the race, your bet might be voided on some books. Some books might count it as a loss, so you may want to wait to bet it, whatever your decision is there. And yes, back to the chat too. Corey Herbert, finally. Yes, that's exactly how we feel. Finally here. Kevin S. Had Niners and Ravens futures. Oh, man, that's rough. Give him a Daytona winner so we can wash the Mahomes out of his mouth. Yes, love it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, wash that Mahomes out of my mouth, please. Well, I'm so done with that.
Rod's tired of the Mahomes as well. Luckily, I was on the Chiefs, so I did win money despite I wasn't really rooting for them, but it worked out for money wise. So you got to take that emotional hedge. But okay, so open cars for the 500. New York Racing has a car listed on the entry list, but the driver is TBD. We've not really heard any. There's not really even been any rumors to who this driver might be.
I'm making that announcement on Tuesday, just so you know.
Rod will be entering. It's the 44 car, which I want to say last time they entered that car was Greg Biffle, maybe even. So who knows? It could be any number of people. I don't really know what the plan is there. That would be the car probably most likely to not make the race, but we said that about cars last year that ended up making it. So Kaz Gralla is going to be in a third entry for Front Row Motorsports in the 36. David Reagan is going to be in the 60 car for RFK. Anthony Alfredo is taking over the Beard Motorsports 62. BJ McLeod, no longer a chartered car. Of course, they sold that charter to Spire. And Zane Smith will be in there for Spire via Trackhouse. Of course, that whole thing. So BJ is an open car. And Jimmy Johnson, of course, the 7-time champion, not guaranteed to make the big race, Rod. He is in the third car for Legacy, a Toyota, nonetheless, for Jimmy Johnson. So his first outing in a Toyota and his first of, I believe, 9 races they've got him scheduled for this season. So, we're going to see lots of lots of Jimmy this year. I'll get to see him at Kansas in person, which is going to be great. I'm excited for that. But yeah, those are your open cars. So of course, again, not locked into the field. So keep that in mind when we bring those up, or when you go to bet on those guys. You might get the better price now, but depending on your book's rules, or what you're willing to lose if they don't make the race, two of those guys will not make the race. So.
Well, again, just keep an eye on it because, as we've said before, anything can and will happen on a super speedway. So we definitely need to keep our eyes peeled. All right, if you are brand new to this show, every single day that we give you picks, we give you 6 of our favorite picks. We'll give you 5, whatever they are, top 5s, top 10s, head-to-heads, sometimes manufacturers, sometimes whatever it is we decide we want to give you in those 5. We'll give you that. And then at the end of the show, we always load you up with our winning picks of the show. And again, that's what we're aiming to do. We're trying to give you picks, but we're also educating you on how to bet as well. So we don't want you just to blindly tail our picks, while we will give you the picks that we like and the picks that we feel like are going to hit. Understand that NASCAR is a lot less like a sport you normally bet if you haven't bet it. Then I love it. Oh, sorry, Chris Tamber jumping in the chat. Cool, Rod is still alive. Yes, I am, my friend. I've tried very hard.
That's the good thing about NASCAR starting right after the Super Bowl. If your team loses, you turn right into racing, and now he's going to take all his anger out on the books when it comes to his NASCAR picks.
I told Cody, I said, I had 3 hours of driving today to sort of work through all of the stages of grief and remorse. And so I'm good now. I've dealt with my demons. It's on to NASCAR for us. But again, so we'll give you all those picks. We totally want you to learn as the season progresses how to make these picks also and a little more educated. That way you can, if we say something, you're like, oh no, that's not right. Then you go back and you're like, okay. But normally we try to just give you our picks and let you, tail the ones you are. We'll give you a lot of them. So obviously pick and choose from what we give you and choose wisely. But again, we try to research as much as we can to get you where you need to go. But ultimately the pick's on you.
Yes. Chris also with the emotional hedge, won money. Of course, that's the thing that always puts the Band-Aid on it. Sick of them winning. Jeremy also likes Brad Keselowski 12-1 with KFB 14-1. Some books have him at 16-1. We are going to be talking about at least one of those drivers. So he is on the list. Rod, of course, said 6 picks or 5 picks or whatever he said. I always cheat the system. I just cram more picks in each box and give you more picks than that. But, oh, well, it works out.
Well, speaking of picks, let's load them up. Give us your first official race pick of the season. Cody, I can't handle it.
All right, I got to say it, too, because I always say it when it comes to the super speedways. You got to treat ththese super speedways like you're going to lose all these bets no matter what. They're a mess. They can be a disaster. We know anybody can win these races. We know that wrecks are going to happen. It's going to be chaos. So you're trying to find the value out there, which is great. Get a lot of big numbers, a lot of fun stuff you can hit. But you got to go into this with the mindset you're not going to hit any of these bets. Anything you hit, it makes it a fun day. That's why it's so much fun to bet on these. Rod, there is a commandment when it comes to super speedway racing, and the commandment is,
thou shalt always fade Kyle Larson.
Thank you very much. Kyle Larson, again, love the dude. One of the greatest drivers, one of the greatest wheelmen on planet Earth, maybe in the history of all time. But when it comes to super speedways, Rod, he is not good. He has 41 career super speedway starts. When I say super speedway, I do count the 4 Atlanta races since the repave when it's become a super speedway. So he's got 41 career super speedway starts. Rod, he has 1 top 5 finish in 41 starts. It is not good. You go back over his last 5 races at Daytona. Oh, by the way, the bet. I suppose I should give you the bet if you want it. I have Alex Bowman, his teammate, over Kyle Larson. It's plus 100 over on Superbook. The books are wising up a little bit. They're not giving us as many matchups with him. They're putting him against Truex in a lot of scenarios, which is the other guy who's not great at super speedways. So there is that. But I do like Bowman with him at even money. We don't get much into head-to-heads on super speedways because it is so hard to predict. You're not getting a lot of good numbers. This is my one head-to-head for the day. Last 5 finishes at Daytona for Kyle Larson. 27th, 18th, 37th, 32nd, and 20th. Last 5 for Alex Bowman. 6th, 5th, 14th, 24th, and 7th. That is 5 for 5 in favor of Alex Bowman the last 5 times we've been to this track. Go to Talladega for Kyle Kyle Larson, he has a 15th, a 33rd, and 18th, a 4th. That was his one career top 5 finish, of course. And then 37th, 40th, 39th, and 24th for some of his most recent finishes there. For Bowman, they've split it over the last 8, basically. Bowman's got 4, Larson's got 4, so not quite as good at Talladega. But you go over to Atlanta, it's not been good for Larson there either. A 31st, a 31st, a 13th, and a 30th. 3 30ths or worse at Atlanta for him since the repave into the super speedway configuration. Alex Bowman 3 for 4 on beating him at those. So again, and Chris says he hates that commandment. He's going to win one. He says this year he has to. It's not that he can't win them, right? Anybody can win these races, and we know that. And throughout this race, he's going to be mixing it up front. He's going to be leading laps, and you're going to be like, this dude's good at super speedways. What was he talking about? And then it might not happen till overtime, like last Daytona 500, but it always gets him. He cannot avoid the wrecks. He's always in the wrong place at the wrong time. He always wrecks out. So give me Alex Bowman over Kyle Larson, even money plus 100 over on Superbook. Until it stops working, you just got to fade Kyle Larson. Again, he's so great. He's such a good driver. He just cannot do it. And he's admittedly, he'll say it, right? He just can't figure it out on super speedways. He doesn't like the style of racing. He's just not good at it. And that's his kryptonite is super speedway racing. So yeah, we'll just continue to fade it. Alex Bowman over Kyle Larson plus 100.
And Chris, I know, but see, we'd rather keep winning and then lose if he does than keep losing and win when he, it's a matter of pick your poison. He's going to do it more often than he's not as far as losing on super speedways. So you just take your lumps when he does win one.
His outright's only 15-1. I've seen some people who are like, oh, you never get Larson to 15-1. Like, yeah, you don't, but you're getting it here because he's 1 for 41, even in the top 5. Like, if he wins a race, great at super speedway, that's fine. But I will have zero remorse for not betting on him because he is historically so bad at super speedways.
Indeed. Nick, I feel your pain as well. Hi, buddy. It is on to Daytona. So we'll both Nick and I in the chat over there, we're Niners fans, so we both feel each other's pain. So all right.
Taser saying to parlay Larson to win the 500 and the Indy 500.
I mean, that's a fun parlay to take.
I like the Indy 500 bet more than the Daytona 500 bet, if that tells you anything.
That'd be a fun one to sort of ride your chips on. But okay. All right. I will set up my pick, but I first want to tell you about Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NBA season with Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting platform, sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. You can enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bets revolutionary parlay optimizer tool. You're going to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rates for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark. Join over 30,000 users researching with the Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off of your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, so for my first bet of my first official pick, I love it so much. I'm swinging for the fences, and I really don't care if this one misses. I just feel like Josh Berry has the opportunity to get himself a top 10. If I'm rolling the dice and I'm rolling it on any sort of car, it's that 4 car, right? And at plus 240 as for a top 10, the thing about top 10 odds, especially on super speedways, is that they're not quite as sexy as the rest of them because they're the outrights are always at least 11-1 or more. The top 3s are somewhere in the 300-400s. And so when you're getting down into the top 10s and you're getting the plus 110s, you're getting the plus whatever, 240 for somebody who, again, is driving a car that was parked in the top 10 for a better part of its career, right? Of course, that was the driver. I get it. I know Kevin Harvick is the perennial top 10 guy. But by the same token, sometimes I feel like the car's got memory. I'm just saying, sometimes I feel like that car knows what it's like to be in the top 10. And when you look at these teammates, they do love to stick together. They do love to kind of get themselves in a bunch, right? These SHR guys. Now, granted, we know that they're a whole different breed now. It's Almirola's gone. Harvick is gone. So now you got Briscoe, you got Priest, you got Barry. and Gragson. So you're just kind of like, which one's gonna come out on top of that? But I feel like Josh Berry for a top 10 at plus 240 is not a bad bet to make. Not the most perfect of super speedway drivers. He's got one Cup start in the Cup Series, but he was racing the 42 car and he ended up finishing 22nd. But as you know, on a super speedway, the difference between 22nd and 10th sometimes is not always that big of a difference, right? It's just a matter of, did you get shuffled back in the mix? Did you drop out of the draft at the wrong time? Did you make a wrong move? Did nobody go with you? And that 42 car, obviously with Legacy last year, that was the fall race where Gragson was booted out of that car. And so they had to replace it with somebody, and Josh Berry stepped in I think that was even on short notice, if I believe. He came in on short notice on that one and didn't realize he was going to be driving. And so he ended up 22nd in a race that he didn't think he was going to be driving. And he started 29th. As far as super speedway-esque type races and the Xfinity Series for him in the 8 car, he actually had a pretty solid couple of finishes on that configuration in Xfinity, a 2nd place, a 7th place, and a 19th. So just outside of the top 10 in his last start in Atlanta. But he did lead 34 laps in that one. Talladega, he's got a 5th place finish, an 11th place, a 9th place, sandwiched between 2 30th place finishes, which is kind of tough. But again, it just shows that he can be in the right place at the right time. What did he do in Xfinity and Daytona? 27th, 16th, 18th, 26th, 17th. I know a lot of this doesn't scream top 10 potential, but he's in a far better car than he was last year. That 42 car, while good, was not as good as the 4. So now he's in SHR equipment. Now he's in some pretty decent equipment for a guy who's making his debut with SHR. So like I said, I feel like a top 10. Fords generally do okay at super speedways. And you're going to see these manufacturers jump around too. You're going to see Ford jump out. You're going to see Toyota jump out. You're going to see Chevy jump out. And then a pit strategy is going to change the whole damn thing. And the whole manufacturer group's going to pull off at once. And then everybody else is going to go up to the front. So I think for Barry, it's just a matter of staying out of trouble, staying with the right folks, and staying toward the front. If he does all of those things, I think a top 10 finish for him. He's a good enough driver to get it done, right? I think he's talented enough to get a top 10. And I think if the situation's right, that plus 240 is a good price for him to do it.
I don't know. I'm just not on the Josh Berry train. I don't love it, Rod.
You don't have to be. It's okay. There's still room on the bandwagon when he does well.
Well, yeah, if he does well, we'll go back and bet on him for sure later on. But I don't know. I'm not sold from Berry until I see a little bit. I think that he's going to struggle stepping in to fill those big shoes over there. So I don't know. I'm not super huge on it.
I know you're not. Like I said, you don't have to be. I'll do it for both of us.
We did have a question from Nick Fortune. He just joined. What about Ty Gibbs over Joey Logano plus 110? The Joey Logano side of that is minus 114, or minus 140. Do not lay that on anyone on a super speedway. We both do like Ty Gibbs a little bit, but one of us likes Joey Logano as well. So I don't hate it. Again, I'm trying to avoid the head-to-heads too much on the super speedways. It is more of a coin toss than anything. So try to kind of stay away a little bit.
Yeah, indeed. All right, Cody, where are we going next?
Next up for me, I am going to jump over into the top 5 market. Give me AJ Allmendinger. Let's start with AJ Allmendinger. You're going to take him top 5. He's plus 850 over on DraftKings. Look, AJ Allmendinger is really, really good super speedway racer. I say this every time we come to the super speedways because you think of him as a road course guy. Of course, he's very good at those, we know, but he's good at super speedways as well. He finished 29th in the fall, so not a great race, but 6th place in last year's Daytona 500. Before that, he hadn't started a cup race at Daytona since 2018, but in the 2018 Daytona 500, 3rd place. And then before that, he had a 10th and 8th and another 3rd place in the 17 500. So in his last 3 Daytona 500s, he is 3rd, and 6th place. That is pretty strong statistics for AJ. His 2 Atlanta starts in the Cup Series on the new configuration, 16th and 3rd. Then if you go back to his Xfinity stats at Daytona, his last 4 finishes, Rod, in Xfinity, 3rd, 2nd, and 5th. That is great. His last 2 Talladega races in Xfinity, a win and a 3rd place. in his 2 races at Atlanta in Xfinity, a 10th and a 3rd place. Getting to the end of these races, which the most important thing about these top bets for top 5s, top manufacturers, top 10s, whatever the case is, finish the race, right? That's the hardest part. That's the thing some guys just can't seem to do. Guys like Kyle Larson just have such a hard time finishing the race. He's great during the race, but he can't get to the end. AJ's very good at avoiding the chaos. Of course, we know you can't always avoid it, but he's good at getting to the end. So love him to get in the top 5. Plus 850 on DraftKings. That's a really good number. And then David Reagan. We talked about this in the offseason when it was announced he was going to be in this RFK car. Love betting David Reagan on super speedways. I'm going to take him over on Bet365. They have his top 5 at plus 1,000, so 10-1. And then DraftKings has his top 3 number at 22-1. Love some David Reagan this weekend. He did finish 9th place in the fall of 2022 at Talladega, and 8th place in the 500 that year. So an 8th and a 9th in his last full-time season in 2022 before he retired. Or actually, I think that was after he retired, but at least when he was running those cars, both in Rick Ware cars, I would like to note. Not great cars by any means. Survive till the end, be there. This season he's going to be in a Roush car, which I don't know if you saw Roush at any point on super speedways last year. Now the Ford is different this year, but he can also work with Keselowski. He can work with Buescher. We know how good those guys are. He finished 4th place in the Daytona 500 in 2020. A very good finish, obviously, there. He had a 6th place in July of 2016 as well in a BK Racing car in that one. So, again, it doesn't have to be good cars, and yet he is in a good car this week. He's got a win here in a summer race. Should have a win at Talladega. Of course, he went below the double yellow lines. They gave the win to Tony Stewart. And he was 18th in his Atlanta start, which, again, not the best result, but still alive at the end. Made it to the end of that race. Not quite as much chaos, so didn't move up. So, David Reagan, love him. One of those guys not guaranteed to make the race, so he may not even end up in it. But if he does end up in the race, and that's the thing, is if these guys end up in the race, it doesn't matter if they almost made it or if they, were close to not making it, because in the race doesn't matter with the draft. So his top 5 plus at 10-1, and his top 3 plus 2,200 for David Reagan.
I love me some AJ Allmendinger. Cannot complain with you on that one. Look, if I'm making a case for Josh Berry, I can't fault you on a David Reagan. Much more experienced Cup driver, so I'll float you on that one. But
super speedway ace.
I'm not as confident. All right, well, I'm going to throw a couple more in the top 10, and I'm just going to go ahead and bleed the Legacy Motor Club all the way through. And I it's funny. I didn't necessarily set out to pick on the 42 car, but apparently I am, because here comes John Hunter Nemechek, driver of the 42 car. I'm going to put him inside the top 10 at plus 290, and I'm also going to throw in Jimmy Johnson. I'm trying to read his name correctly, but yeah, Jimmy Johnson, top 10 at plus 300 as well. Two really good top 10 odds for 2 brand new Toyotas. And we talked about this too over the course of the offseason, as far as Toyota not always being the strongest on super speedways because of the fact that they weren't a big enough stable, I suppose, to compete with the Chevys and the Fords, because there weren't nearly as many Toyotas out there as there were Chevys, and of course Chevys for sure, but Fords for sure. And so for me, I feel like now that there's a couple more cars in the mix, right? You got the 42 out there, and the why am I blanking on 43?
43.
Yeah, 42, 43.
I don't know, the most iconic number in NASCAR history, probably.
I'm still punch drunk from the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. But yeah, so the 42 and the 43 obviously are in there now. I feel like it gives Toyota a little bit of a boost, a little bit of a shove up forward. And for Jimmy Johnson's sake, I mean, this guy, I don't even have to rattle off his accolades. Like, everybody knows what Jimmy Johnson's accomplished, and everybody knows that he is a perennial top 10, a perennial threat to win almost any sort of race that you could put out there. So I don't have to really back it up for them. But for John Hunter Nemechek, right, a good super speedway driver in his own right. Not the greatest at Talladega in the Xfinity Series. He had a 7th and a 6th place finish in his first couple starts there, but then kind of ran into trouble in his last 2 in 2021 and 2023. He had 22 22nd place finish and a 32nd place finish. Daytona, sort of a mixed bag as well. An 8th place in 2019, runner-up in 2023 in the spring, and then 28th in the fall race. But he did start 7th place in both of those. So, I mean, he's decent at pack racing, not necessarily going to get you a win. But like I said, I feel like a top 10 is not bad. We look at his Atlanta stats, though, too, over the last couple of seasons. Last year, especially, an 8th place and a win in Atlanta in the pack racing. So we know that John Hunter is one of the more dominant racers in the Xfinity Series. He's going to be a dominant racer here at some point. I mean, I think he's going to, him and Ty Gibbs, watch out, because in the Xfinity Series, you know, we see a lot of the back and forth between guys like that, and it sort of always tends to carry over. Jimmy Johnson was another one of those guys, right? Kevin Harvick was one of those, Kyle Busch, like these guys that were coming up through the series and tore up the Xfinity Series. It took them a couple of years, but they ended up getting to the top of their game in the Cup Series as well. So I think this is what we're going to be seeing. We're going to be seeing a lot of battles between John Hunter and Gibbs in this series as well. But so I think I think John Hunter is equally talented as drivers as Gibbs, and we're giving Gibbs a lot of credit. So again, a top 10 for Gibbs or for John Hunter. I keep talking myself into a corner between Gibbs and Nemechek. Nemechek, I think a top 10 is well within, and probably a stronger bet than Barry. But I'm still going to give Barry a shot. And then for Jimmy, that's just me being a homer. So you don't have to follow that one. That was just me throwing it out there because I could not give Jimmy Johnson a top 10 nod in good conscience.
He's a Daytona 500 champion. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing, Rod.
That 84 car is sexy too, by the way.
Yes, I like both those picks. I think that those are both good picks. Rod, before we get to my next pick, I want to tell everybody about our Daytona 500 contest. It's here, Daytona 500 week. It's finally here. We have a contest going on. All you got to do, subscribe to our YouTube channel, which you should be subscribed to anyways. Take a screenshot of that, and you go enter the form. I should have the code for that, but of course I don't have it right in front of me. So we'll get you that web address momentarily. But all you got to do is submit that screen and pick your Daytona 500 winner. It's that simple. You just pick the guy you want to win. As we know, anybody can win this. We've had 3 wildcard winners over the last 3 seasons. If you're watching on YouTube, of course, Ricky Stenhouse on the graphic here. He won it last year. $100 and a $100 gift card to the SGPN merch store. So you can get sweet Racing Gambling Podcast merch or Refs or Terrorist shirts, all Brockhard Purdy shirts if you're a 49er fan, to cheer you back up. Whatever the case may be, all kinds of fun stuff over there. So check that out. Also, if you go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NASCAR contest, that will take you that's the direct link. It's also in our pinned Facebook post, all the fun stuff there.
Cody's getting so good at ad reads. I'm so happy for him.
I should have, never mind. I should have read the ad read that we wrote for the rest of the shows, but that's okay. Maybe I'll do that the rest of the week.
We're good. This is our show. We do it how we want it.
We do it however we want. Go over there, enter the content. Again, it's free to enter. You pick any, and you could pick anybody. It's not like a different race where, Kyle Larson's a heavy favorite. Everybody's got to pick him. Like, you can pick anybody, and it's a lot of fun. So, and giving away free money, free gift card. It's a great time. Next up on our free picks as well, Rod, I'm going to stick in the Toyota camp with you where you just came from. I'm going to take Top Toyota. So this has always been a fun one to get into in the Toyota camp in the past because there were 6 Toyotas, right? And maybe, last year we had a 7th because Pastrana was in another 2311 car, whatever the deal was. So it's basically a larger group than normal. Now it's a larger group this year, right? We've got 8 chartered Toyotas and a 9th if Jimmy Johnson makes the race, of course. So definitely a bigger group. But I think the way to attack this still, you pick 2 guys with a little bit longer odds. Denny's at the top of this, like plus 200. That's pretty rough. You don't really want to go that low, probably. I understand he's won the Daytona 500 3 times. I understand he's good here, but anything can happen. So I'm going to go down a little farther, but not too far, into the Toyota camp. I'm going to take Bubba Wallace at plus 500 to be the top Toyota. And my guy, Ty Gibbs, 7-1 to be the top finishing Toyota. Again, all they have to do is be the top finishing Toyota. They don't have to finish in the top 5. They don't have to win. They might not even have to finish in the top 10. You just have to beat the other Toyotas, whether that's 30th place or whether it's first place. You can cash these tickets. I think getting in on 2 guys is the way to go. For Bubba Wallace, we know how good of a super speedway racer he is, right? He's won at Talladega before, and he's consistently always at the front. He's learned from and works with Denny Hamlin, the aforementioned guy who's won 3 Daytona 500s. Pretty good in general everywhere, but specifically at super speedways. Bubba was 12th in the fall. He did finish 20th in the 500 last year. I think there was some overtime stuff that kind of put him back in there. In the fall race in 2022, though, 11th place in the 2022 Daytona 500, third place. He had a second place in August of 21. He was second in the 500 in 2018. He has been really, really close to winning the Daytona 500 before. He is going to be there at the end, most likely. So he's a guy that I like. He won at Talladega, of course, as I mentioned before, and he's been not running at the end of 3 of 13 Talladega races. Means 10 of 13. He's still running at the end. What's the most important part to catching a bet like this? Being running at the end. When 5 or 6 other Toyotas have crashed out, now you're only racing 1 or 2 other ones, whatever the case may be. And then if you go to the Atlanta races, he's been running at the end of all of those. So it's been a really good run for Bubba Wallace on the super speedways. I think he can keep that up. When it comes to Ty Gibbs, obviously we don't have as big of a playbook on him, right? It's only in his second full-time season. He's got a season and a half under his belt after filling in for Kurt Busch, but he's been running at the end of 3 of the 4 Daytona races so far. He's got 2 top 20 finishes. Had a chance to win Talladega last year. If you remember, about 2 laps to go, he ran out of fuel. He was right up front. I don't remember if he's leading or he was in the lead pack for sure and had a chance at it. Ran out of fuel, so the result wasn't great there. But he had a 9th place at Atlanta last spring as well, so has had good runs in the past for Ty Gibbs. So give me 2 of the guys out of the Toyota camp to be one of them to be the top finishing Toyota. Bubba at plus 550 over on Caesars, and Tyrone Gibbs plus 700 on Caesars.
I love it. Let me stay on Tyrone Gibbs for that. I know that you said that he doesn't have to finish in the top 5 to be the top Toyota, and that's fantastic. But I think we're going to give this young kid a chance to finish inside of the top 5. You get this at plus 375. Find that on Bet365 and shop around. Obviously, I found the best line there. If your book has a better one, then by all means go after it. But I think for everything that you said in there, but you also have to toss in the fact that, look, in that Talladega race where he ran out of fuel, he started in 3rd place. He's got speed. Like, this guy has speed that he can get it to the front. In fact, in last year's fall Daytona race, he started in 5th place before he crashed out in 35. So Ty Gibbs, definitely a guy that can be up there and stay up there, right? I mean, were it not for the fuel, were it not for a crash, and the fuel wasn't necessarily his fault. That was just a pit strategy call that didn't work out for them. But yeah, again, it's just a matter of, and then of course in last Atlanta's fall race, he started in 7th. So we're talking right around the top 5 for Ty Gibbs. All he's got to do now is figure out how to stay up there. And I think this is an opportunity. Now he's in another full-time season, right? He got the bugs out. He got all of the butterflies out. Now he's not a rookie anymore. Now he can focus on being the kind of driver that we all think he can be. And honestly, that is a top 5 driver. In fact, I mean, last year he had 4 top 5 finishes. And for a rookie, that's pretty damn good. You know, that's something that everybody should be able to hang their hat on. 4 top 5s, 10 top 10 finishes for Ty Gibbs. Now, granted, a lot of those came at the beginning of the season, right? And we were all sort of hyping it up, and then he sort of fell off toward the end. But again, I mean, there's a lot of pitfalls in a long season for these guys. But he did get a top 5 at the Roval. He got a top 7 at Homestead, Bristol top 5. Again, he's a young kid with a lot of talent. So I believe we're going to give Ty Gibbs the nod, like you said, for top Toyota. But I also think for a top 5, Ash checking in. Evening from England. Sorry if this has been covered, but who do we know who's racing for the NY team? We said that at the top.
We have an announcement. You know, I didn't really want to break it on the podcast, but I will anyways. Rod Villagomez is going to be racing that 44 car. No, just kidding. We do not know who's going to be racing that car. It's been speculated for a while that they would have an entry, and they're on the entry list. But I mean, really no rumors as to who it might be. I don't know. I have no insight or clue at all to who it might be. So we'll cover it later in the week. Probably going to be pretty tough to bet on whoever that would be anyways. You could consider a top 10 or a top 5 if it's long enough, if it's a really chaotic race. You know, it's going to be tough for that car to probably even make the show. If they do make it, though, and it's a very, crash fest and they just kind of hang out back and survive, right? We all know it can be that way. So we'll see. But I'll be interested to see who gets in the car, of course.
Yep. Like I said, it's not me. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, guys. I know you want me to get in there and race, but with the NASCAR Gambling Podcast,
Rod hasn't saved up enough money to buy that ride just yet.
I lost it all.
He's still
last
stacking
night.
his pennies over there.
Yeah, shoot. I stacked it and knocked it down last night. All right, Cody, then what do we have next for you?
Yeah, next up for me, I'm going to go over to the Justin Haley camp. Let's not forget about Mr. Haley. Moving over to Rick Ware Racing, of course, from Colleague. Is that a downgrade, Rod? Maybe, might not be. We don't know. But I do think that Rick Ware is going to have their program stepped up a little bit this year. But again, on the super speedways, it doesn't matter as much because you just got to survive. You got to be there. I had mentioned earlier, David Reagan, of course, had a couple of great finishes in the Rick Ware cars over the last couple of years on the super speedways. So I'm going to take Haley to finish in the top 10. This is a plus 290. And I'm also going to take him Group E over on Caesars. He's plus 240 to win. That group is Jimmy Johnson, Harrison Burton, and Noah Gragson. Again, I love Jimmy, and you're going to have some bets that cover on him as well, where maybe you hit that and you don't hit this, or you don't and you can hit both. I do like Jimmy, but he's not even guaranteed to make the race. So that's one caveat in there, right? Burton, it's not been great, right? He finds his way up front, it seems like, and then he always causes the wrecks, I think. So, and Noah Gragson, I don't know. We just got to see him settle into this. It's a lot of pressure on him, right? He's he showed up well at the Clash and performed. Okay, he got into the race. I'll say that. So that was great. He was like 7 laps down, 4 laps into the race, but he made the show. So that was something to look at, right? But I just don't totally believe it. And yeah, JDK says, isn't Rick partnering with RFK this year? Yes, they are. And they seem to have stepped that partnership up, right? And Justin Haley, everybody was kind of like, why are you going to Rick Ware? What is this about? And Justin was very, Brad Keselowski sat in on that meeting with them. Justin didn't even realize they had a partnership. And Brad was there saying, look, we believe that this team can be a winner, and they're stepping up that program. They've got that partnership. They're going to have hopefully 3 cars in the 500 with Buescher and Brad, of course, and then Reagan. So maybe they can all work together. But Haley he's been very good. He's got to win at Daytona in the past. I get it. It's weird circumstances, the rain, they didn't pit, all of that. But hey, a win is still a win. So you love that. He finished 6th here at Daytona in a Spire car as well, in just a normal race. Is an average 17.7 finish over 7 races. Not bad. He's only got 1 DNF and 8 Talladega starts. Again, and that was his very first start. So he's 7 for 7 finishing them since his first start. 6th in the fall in Talladega, had a 19th, a 15th, and a 12th before that. Again, all solid finishes, making it to the end. Atlanta, he's got an 8th, a 22nd, a 7th, and 11th. Again, good, strong finishes. How many wins does he? I should have wrote down his Xfinity wins in Daytona because he's got a ton of them. He's won 3 or 4 super speedways in Xfinity as well. Justin Haley's a very good plate guy. Don't forget him just because he went over to Rick Ware Racing, especially at a super speedway track. I think they can show up and be just fine. So give me Haley top 10 plus 290, and give me him to win Group E plus 240 over Johnson, Burton, and Gragson.
Look, so long as he gets into the right draft, a lot of it is picking the right line at the right time to move yourself up. I mean, you can be in 25th position. That third line starts to okay, 4 cars behind you, but you get those right 4 cars with the right momentum, and all of a sudden you're getting shoved toward the front, or you could be in 15th and find that second line's moving faster. This is all a chess game.
One wreck in front of you, and you make it through. Austin Dillon cashing a 33-1 for us at Daytona a couple of years ago, right? He was, 19th place, the first driver of 19 cars that made it through that wreck. And that's just how it works on these. Yeah.
So, again, it's just a matter of you can make a case for anything just by saying chaos at Daytona, and you could be completely right. Speaking of chaos at Daytona, I'm going to go back to where was that comment that we had. Even year Logano is always a threat. Kevin S. Yes, even year Logano is always a threat. And I will give you even year Logano as a top 3 car at 4-1 over on DraftKings. I could begin and end my argument with even year Logano, but I won't. I will also tell you that Logano has been great pretty much all over the place, but Daytona over the last couple of races, especially, last year in the Daytona 500, he was the runner-up, led 12 laps. And then in the fall race, he was 5th place in Daytona. Overall, though, not really the greatest of all stats. I mean, he has 8 top 5s in 30 starts on this track. But again, this is kind of even year Logano, and you're gonna roll with that narrative. Talladega, not necessarily the greatest. So he's not a fantastic plate racer, but now that Atlanta's a plate race, right, or a drafting race. He does have a win in that configuration as well. He's gotten better, again, but it's Joey Logano. You can't really count him out of anything at this point. So 4-1 for Joey Logano to be a top 3 car. I think I like that. But again, I love the even year Logano part of it as well. Look, these Fords, they're going to stick together. We know this, right? We know that they're all going to be in lockstep. They'll probably have the same pit strategies, and they'll partner up when they come off of pit road and everything like that. So a veteran guy like Logano, he tends to get his nose stuck where he doesn't belong sometimes too on super speedways, which is why the finishes aren't always there. So I'm just hoping that he stays out of trouble and that he is able to ride himself up. And I think 4-1 for a vet like Logano on a top 3 bet, not a bad opportunity and not a bad thing to take.
Yeah, again, he's the hardest guy to figure out. So if Rod believes in him, I'll believe in him as well. So and we know he's good at super speedways. We've seen it before. Penske specifically, very good at super speedways. All 3 of those guys have won, big races at super speedways. Austin's won the 500 before. Joey's won the 500 before. Ryan, of course, owns Talladega basically at this point. So, it's a very solid team.
Indeed. Checking in with Ash real quick, saying always a tough.
Look at Ash's timing Look at Ash's timing bringing up.
We'll get there. Yeah, great. This weekend, LaJoy to finish ahead of Gilliland, and then of course LaJoy -120 to finish ahead of Gilliland 110. See,
I will say, yes, good job using the American format. We appreciate that. -120 is a lot to lay on a head-to-head. As much as I love Corey LaJoy, especially on a super speedway, I'm trying to avoid the head-to-heads on super speedways as much as I can, just because it is tough. But Rod, if you want to go ahead and take your break now, we will move into the Corey LaJoy car lift section of this.
We have
no break.
You just get the car lift going.
It's a break for me talking.
Break for me.
For 30 minutes about Corey LaJoy. So you sit back and relax. Here's the Corey LaJoy photo. Of course, if you're new to the show, I keep it right here by me. Beautiful man. I love him. Unofficial fan club president. But he has made me so much fucking money in the past on super speedways. And we ride the car lift. In football, the SGPN guys, they've got the football ladders they climb over here, thanks to JDK. We've got the car lift, and we ride that lift up to the top. So Corey LaJoy, we're taking the whole freaking car lift. We're going to start at the bottom, Rod. Top 10 finish, plus 290. No big deal. That's nice and easy. We're going to move that lift up a little bit and squeak in a top 5, plus 800. His top 3 over on Bet365, 18-1. Oh, this is the one he's cashed for us multiple times on the super speedways. Top Chevrolet, 25-1. But Cody, Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson and Hendrick and all these Chevrolet's the biggest manufacturer. I get it. But you look back, 9th place sometimes is the best Chevrolet, 12th place sometimes. Corey has done it multiple times for us in the past. He's cashed this. Of course, Rod, you're going to take that car lift all the way to the top and stop at 65-1. Corey LaJoy to win over on FanDuel. Look, I love Corey LaJoy, obviously. I'm very biased because he's made me so much money. But that's the thing, is that's why I love him, because he's been that secret, and it's becoming not so much of a secret. Now people are starting to catch on, and the numbers drop. We're not getting the 250-1s that we almost hit on him to win a couple of years ago, but still getting good numbers. You go back and you look at his Daytona 500 or his Daytona finishes lately. 10th place, 16th, had a 30th in there, right? Got caught up in a wreck. 4th, 16th. He was 9th in the 2021 500. 8th in the 2020 500, had a 6th place finish here in the fall of 2019. 3 of his 14 starts. That's how many times he's not finished at Daytona. 11 of 14. He has made it to the end at Daytona. Again, one of the most key parts, right? Yes, there's all these Chevrolets, but one crash takes out 3/4 of the Chevrolets. Now he's only got to beat a few of them. It makes a big difference. His Atlanta finishes, Rod, he has a 31st place, but he has a 4th place. A 21st place, which is very deceiving because with 2 laps to go, he was leading the race and cashing our 250-1 ticket before he ended up in the wall, unfortunately. So he almost won that race. He had 5th place in the other race, had a 4th place at Talladega in the fall. Top Chevrolet, I guess who cashed it that? I'm pretty sure he cashed it that day. But again, he's made us a lot of money. He's really good at super speedways. He has a 7th place finish as well He's been running at the end of 11 of 12 Talladega starts. He's very, very good. He knows that these are his chances, right? Everybody wants to win it. Imagine, a guy going his entire career and having all these starts, and finally, 400 starts into it, Michael McDowell wins the Daytona 500. We just saw this story 2 years ago in the Daytona 500 when Michael McDowell did it. A guy that's been around forever, slugging away, having good races. McDowell finally broke through. Time for Corey to break through. Hopefully he can get the win and cash every single leg of this lift. That would be beautiful, but hopefully we'll at least cash some of them. But yeah, top 10, top 5, top 3, top Chevy, and to win the race. All chips in on Mr. Corey LaJoie. He's going to make us some money again this weekend, I think.
Your Jackman's arms are tired at this point. That is
jacking that car up, baby.
Thinking that dude, he had to have worked out a ton the day before, or maybe his arms are too sore. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, listen, I've learned to not argue with you about Corey LaJoie because I'm not going to win that bet.
I'll shut you off. Oh,
I know. Well, I'll have to cut bet all of that stuff then, won't we? All right. So, well, it wouldn't be me if I did not give you a winning car number bet for this race. I'm going to take the over side. It's 21.5 is what it's set at. The over is at plus 170. As we've talked about too, a lot of times on these super speedways, it's just a matter of, listen, if you're going to take a side of something, take the plus money side of it because anything can and will happen. So it's better to take the bigger plus money number than it is to sort of kind of try to lay any sort of juice or even take the smaller edge of that. So over 21.5. Well, who's over that line? Well, we know Joey Logano's over that line. We just talked about him just a second ago. Bubba Wallace, William Byron. You got Michael McDowell, a past winner here. You've got Kaz Gralla, who you can accidentally have win. You got Preece, you got Nemechek, you got Eric Jones, you've got Tyler Reddick, you've got Stenhouse, a former winner. You got Bowman, you've got Haley, who we just talked about too. You got Gibbs, you got Reagan. You got Zane Smith, baby. You got Carson Hocevar. You've got BJ McLeod, and then Jimmy Johnson and Daniel Suarez. So there's a lot of heavy hitters. And I know there's a lot of heavy hitters on the north side of that line too, or south side, depending on how you want to look at it. But, you got Chastain, you got Cindric, Dillon, Larson, Keselowski, LaJoie, like you said, Busch, Elliott, Hamlin, Blaney, Briscoe, I guess, but Truex and Bell. But again, like I said, I think there's a lot more on the other side of that, on the over side of that you can basically just throw a dart and get it right. So I like the plus 170 side of this number bet for sure. And who knows, again, it just could be any number. It could be Jimmy Johnson and then you'll make a ton of money because you'll follow me in the next bet as well. But yeah, I like the number of what you're getting on the other side. Sometimes on these number bets, you don't necessarily get the greatest. And then when you start to section them off like they are for a super speedway, I don't like taking blocks of numbers. I don't like to take the, between 10 and 19 because that hamstrings you too much. So give me the over 21.5 for the driver winning number at plus 170.
Yeah, I like the plus money side of it. You're getting the windows are real tough on a track like this. I like you're kind of splitting the field in half, getting one side of it. Jeremy says, just remember Keselowski is due. That's the other good thing about taking a number bet like this. If you want to bet on Brad Keselowski, you just go bet on him. You're not going to care if you don't hit the car number one. But, then you've got everybody above 21.5 and Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch and Corey LaJoie, whoever else you've bet on underneath that number. So you're kind of getting both sides of the deal. And again, if they hit your outright, you're not going to care that you missed out on the winning car number anyway. So it is a nice way to shift off, in a way like that. So, and I think at plus 170, it's a good number.
Indeed. Well, all that's left now, Cody, is to give out our winners. Woo!
Who's going to raise the Harley J. Earl at the end of the day? Our first winning picks of the season. Of course, Rod, I loaded this box up as well. Again, if you're not used to betting on NASCAR, whatever the case is, anybody can win this race. More so, not anybody can win at every track. At the super speedways, literally anybody in the field can win. Now, there is odds for a reason, right? And the guys towards the top have a better opportunity, but it's been 3 wild card winners the last couple of seasons. I wouldn't be shocked to see it happen again. Could be a favorite as well. So just however you're going. But I've taken 4 outrights here. Of course, you got the Corey LaJoie. That doesn't count. He's in his own section there. 4 outrights over here. You can split this like a first touchdown, right? Split it up, unit on each, however you want to do it. We don't tell you how to bet. We just help you make the picks. But the guys that I am on, Rod, I'm going to start off with Mr. KFB himself. This number is moving quickly. He is down to 10-1 on some books. So 16-1 still on FanDuel, or MGM rather, has him 16-1. I would hurry up and get over there because his number is dropping quickly. But I know everybody hates my my history lessons, but I have some history lessons for you anyways. Go back to February 18th, 2001. A horrible day for NASCAR. Of course, Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s accident, and we lose him. We come back to Daytona on February 18th, again specifically, that date in particular. In 2007, Kevin Harvick wins in an RCR car, the number 29, the Daytona 500. We come back again in 2018 on February 18th. Austin Dillon wins in the number 3 car. Those are the 2 times we've been back for this race on February 18th. Rod, the Daytona 500 this year is on February 18th. So I would like to point that out. It has been 20 years in 2004 when Dale Jr. won the number 8 car at the Daytona 500. It's also been 10 years since Dale Jr. won in the 88. If you want to keep, that one's kind of reaching a little bit, but in the 8 theme of things, right? So Kyle Busch, 16-1 over on MGM. He's due. There's been a thing floating around out there where he said, 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Somebody else did that at RCR. It's not a real quote. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. I know it's shocking. Everything is true. This is his 20th.
Said that, right?
Yes. Abraham Lincoln did say that. That is correct. Good job, Rod. I'm glad you're up on your history.
Yes.
This is his 20th season, but he's only started 19 Daytona 500s because he broke his leg in an Xfinity race. There he won the championship. He didn't start that one. So just that is the one part that's missing. Just don't believe that part if you see it. But everything else lines up. Rod, I picked him last year to win this race. At the end of regulation, Kyle Busch was winning this race with Austin Dillon in tow. It's going to happen again this year. But this time, Kyle Busch takes it home. 19 tries. This is going to be his lucky time. February 18th is coming into play. All the signs point to it. Kyle Busch is winning this. Get in now. 16-1. Number is dropping. People seem to be on him. So get in on Kyle Busch. If Kyle Busch doesn't win it, of course, it's possible, I suppose, right? Bubba Wallace dipping back into him. 20-1 over on FanDuel. I mentioned him earlier, right? He's finished second in the 500 before. He's finished third in the 500 before. He's finished second in the fall race. He has been really, really close. He's so due. We're coming off of the momentum of he didn't win anything last year. We got the Netflix show. He was in that, right? Big story if Bubba Wallace wins the Daytona 500. I don't want to say NASCAR scripted, Rod, but we just had Taylor Swift win the Super Bowl. Now if Bubba Wallace wins the Daytona 500, right?
Sorry, just throw up
no, it's not scripted. Don't believe any of that shit. That's stupid. But anyways, I still do think Bubba Wallace can win 20-1. Ross Chastain 30-1. This is much like my pick for him to win the championship. The number's just too long. We're disrespecting him, and I don't fully understand it. And Ross is a really good super speedway driver. So you look back at his last couple finishes at Daytona, 17th. He had a 9th place in the 500 last year, 33rd and 40th. So it might be kind of hit or miss with Ross. But if you're picking the winner, that's what you need, right? It doesn't matter if he finishes 40th. You're trying to get him to win. So 18th and 7th in his other starts. He did win at Talladega in 2022. Has a 4th place finish at Talladega as well. 2nd place twice at Atlanta in the 4 times we've gone there on the super speedway configuration. This is the sweet spot, 30-1. This is the range where we've had a couple of the last winners. I think Stenhouse was this range. I think McDowell was a little longer. Maybe Cindric was in this range, but 2 of them have kind of been in this sweet spot range. Ross Chastain might be the guy. Maybe we'll be smashing a watermelon on the recap show next week. That would be a lot of fun. And then to wrap it up, we're going to my guy from Xfinity, Riley Herbst, 85-1 over on Caesars. Look, his first career start in the Cup Series last season at the Daytona 500, 10th place. And so he had to race his way in last year in an open car. He's actually locked into the field this year because he is in the other Rick Ware car. So my guys, Haley and Herbst, maybe they're going to be working together at the end of this. Haley pushes Herbst to the win, cashes both his bets, cashes the Herbst bet. Would be a beautiful thing. But 10th place in that first career start. He did have a 20th and a 38th in the summer races with Daga and Daytona. But then he was 9th place at Talladega again in the fall. So 2 for 4, finishing in the top 10 in his 4 career Cup Series starts, all on super speedways. A little bit of experience there. When you go over to the Xfinity Series, though, 6th place at Daytona last spring. He had a 5th place in Atlanta last season. He had a 4th at Daytona in 22. Has a 4th and 7th at Talladega recently. Then you go over to Atlanta, a 36th in the last Xfinity race there where he crashed out, but 5th, 9th, and 4th in the other 3. Harps is a solid super speedway guy. When I tell you anybody can win this race, it's not a joke. Really, BJ McLeod and the 44 car are the 2 cars I would say you're really going to need a lot of miracles for it to happen, but it's still not completely impossible. These Rick Ware cars are very much capable of winning this race. Everybody in this field can win this race. You got to survive the attrition. You got to get to the end. We've seen it where there's only 5 or 6 cars left in that lead pack. Whatever car and these guys are good at super speedways. Haley can make the moves. Herbst can make the moves. They've got the partnership with Roush RFK, as we mentioned earlier. It can definitely happen. I think they're worth betting on. Riley Herbst at 85-1 is a great bet for a long shot. And again, anybody can win this race, and I think that's really important.
Just got to find the right dance partner at the right time. Like I said, you find that correct line that's moving with the right amount of momentum, get yourself in front of that at the right time, and you're pushed to the win. So, yeah, like that too. Listen, for Bubba and Ross and Herbst, yeah, those are definitely longer shots for a reason, but fun to take a gamble on. And for Kyle Busch, I think he's out for blood this season. I think he needs a really good season. I keep saying that he's going to retire, but it just feels like he's like 600 years old and he's still not even 40 yet. So I love that. All right. I'm going to lay out my winners. I'm going to start with Joey Logano at 14-1. Again, 14-1 is a little long. And it's actually shorter than I thought it would be for Joey Logano, given what I had mentioned earlier about him just not necessarily being the greatest at plate races, at draft races, right? We're calling him. And at 14-1, I think even year Logano is a good thing to take a stab on. I'm going to follow that up with Christopher Bell at 22-1, somebody we haven't really talked about very much in this. And if we think Toyota is going to do well, we've talked about Gibbs, right? We talked about Denny a little bit, but we really kind of glossed over Christopher Bell. Last year in the Daytona 500 finished 3rd, right? After leading 20 laps in that as well. 16th place in the fall. But, this is a guy that he pops up and he has great races all the time. And I'm kind of done getting burnt by Christopher Bell. I for whatever reason, I've just had some sort of bias against Christopher Bell, right?
Have you watched the Netflix show yet, Rob?
Not yet. I'm waiting to binge that here in a little bit because
when they get to him and the producer is like, we were supposed to pick, or we were told these were the guys to really hone in on because they'd be the guys who were there, and he just goes, I wasn't on that list, was I? And the producer goes, no, you weren't. And he goes, that figures, or something like that. He was just like, he is just always underrated too. It's crazy, but
it is. It's the weirdest thing, and I'm done. I think this year is the year that I stop not giving Christopher Bell credit for being a good race car driver, and I'm going to give him the opportunity to win this race again. If the Toyotas are stronger of a stable than they were in the past, that gives the Toyotas a good shot of winning this race. And again, with him finishing in the top 3 of this race last year, that proves that he has the speed and he's got the capability of being able to do that. So JDK right there with you. Bell is my sleeper pick, 100%. So I'm glad to have a little bit of backup there. So we'll see how that one works out. And then my last one, whatever, it's Jimmy Johnson. How could it not be on a track where Jimmy Johnson,
Rod, anybody can win this race.
Anybody can win this race. Two-time Daytona 500 champion, 3-time winner on this track, a 1,000,000-time NASCAR Cup champion. Like I can't not at 70-1 for Jimmy Johnson, for a guy that I know he's got to race his way into this race, but come on, it's Jimmy Johnson. If he doesn't race his way into this race, he should just not race the next 9 races and save me.
Don't say that. We want to see him.
I want to see him too.
We already picked him for Dover for our one and done. We need him to show up.
This is true. This is true. But I want him to show up. I want him to win all the races that he's in, and it starts with the Daytona 500. So again, another Toyota tie-in, right? If we think that Gibbs is going to be good, if we think that Bell's going to be good, then Jimmy's probably going to be right up there with them. And what better way to show your young drivers? Well, John Hunter is not necessarily young, but he's still youngish, right? They all look young to me. I don't even care at this point. But yeah, I mean, what better way to do it than the lead from the front, right? That 84 car is probably going to be in the mix for most of the race, and 70-1 is just ridiculous odds. I know, and I get why. This is why you got to jump on those odds. I know people are going to be like, everybody's going to bet on Jimmie Johnson. That's fine.
I don't think. I mean, I don't think he'll be that popular of a bet because people are going to be like, oh, he's part-time, he's old, whatever. I've not heard a lot of chatter about him. So you might be on an island up on your own, and it might just work out.
I hope that island works out. I hope it works out for you guys. Let's be on Jimmy Island together.
The owner of Jimmie Johnson Island.
I'm the owner, and it's not like
not the one that has extends on it.
No, it's not like Survivor where I'm going to vote you off the island. We're going to all stay on the island and hopefully cash a lot this year on Jimmie Johnson Island. So, all right. Oh my God, that's the end of our episode.
And the even better part, Rod, we got 2 more races to pick this week. Xfinity and trucks. Odds aren't out yet, but the entry list just came out a short while ago, so I would expect odds the next day or two. So we've got Xfinity and Truck Series picks later this week. We have a DFS show. I think we're going to do that on Friday. Hopefully, actually build some Millie Maker lineup since the lineup will be set for the weekend.
Underdog's got their odds out.
Underdog's already out. We may end up having to do that tomorrow if there's not Xfinity odds yet. So stay tuned for the schedule. But 5 days a week, every week, we'll have our recap show. Will usually be our Sunday night/Monday show each and every week. So if you're new, thanks for joining along with us. We appreciate it. Make sure you get entered into that the Daytona 500 contest, and hit. We've got there's a lot of stuff, Rob. We've got a listener league for on the NASCAR Fantasy Live game. Again, hit us up. We'll retweet that info out and everything. Put it back in the Discord as well. Get signed up for that. That's free. $200 card to the winner for that. I've got a league I'm running. If you want to get in some other leagues I'm in, hit me up. We've got open spots and everything. So yeah, it's here. We're doing great. It's so much fun. We got a weekly DFS game too. $5. That's in the Discord every week. So it's just so much going on, Rod.
So much going on. Ash asking anyone offering top 20 yet? They usually do, but haven't seen anything yet. No, I haven't seen anything for top 20.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. The odds would probably be real bad on that.
We're talking heavy minus odds.
That's going to be tough.
Walter checking in saying, let's go. Well, I think it's LFG, but LFY, and we're the best. Thanks, Walter. Thank you for supporting us on the Twitter space.
Yeah, always on the Twitter. We appreciate it, Walter. Thank you.
Loving it. So, all right, let me recap the bets.
Yes.
We got to recap these bets for you guys.
We got to do it.
Get out your pen and paper, everybody. We recap these. We had a request once upon a time to recap the bets because it gets a little lost in translation. So here are the picks for the Daytona 500 in the 2024 season. Cody started you off with Alex Bowman over Kyle Larson at plus 100 over on Superbook. I gave you Josh Berry as a top 10 car at plus 240. Shop around for that line. Find a better price. I think there could be one out there. Cody gave you AJ Allmendinger as a top 5 car at plus 850 over on DraftKings. David Reagan as a top 5 car at 10-1 on Bet365, and a top 3 car for Reagan at 22-1 on DraftKings. I said John Hunter Nemechek would be a top 10 car at plus 290, and Jimmie Johnson would be a top 10 car at plus 300. Cody gave you Bubba Wallace as the top Toyota at plus 550, and Gibbs as a top Toyota option as well at 7-1. I gave you Ty Gibbs as a top 5 car at plus 375 over on Bet365. Cody gave you Justin Haley as a top 10 car at plus 290, and to win Group E over there on Leo, right, at plus 240 over Johnson, Burton, and Gragson. I gave you Joey Logano as a top 3 car at 4-1 on DK. Cody's riding the car lift with Corey LaJoy as a top 10 car at plus 290, as a top 5 car at 8-1, as a top 3 car at 18-1, top Chevy at 25-1, and to win the whole damn thing at 65-1 on FanDuel. I'm giving you the winning car number over 21.5 at plus 170. And Cody's winners include Kyle Busch at 16-1, Bubba at 20-1, Ross at 30-1, Ross Chastain, by the way, and Riley Herbst at 85-1. My winners include Joey Logano at 14-1, Christopher Bell at 22-1, and Jimmy Champion Johnson at 70-1. I love all of those. This is going to be a fantastic week. It's going to be a fantastic season, Cody. I'm so pumped for this.
It's here. It's been fun. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. Make sure you come back the rest of the week for the picks for the other series. Come back for the season. We're going to have a fun time. NFL football I know is over, but still plenty of sports out there to bet on, and nothing more fun than racing, than NASCAR. It's going to be a great season. Feels good to have these first bets locked in. Let's go make some money.
Let's go make some money indeed. Well then, Cody, as we wrap the show up, as we always do, let everyone know where they can find you out in the world of social media so they can keep following you for all your fantastic content.
Yes, follow me on the X at Husker_Zeeb. Ton of stuff going on over there. Check it all out. Follow the show as well at NASCAR Gambling. You can follow us there and get all our stuff there as well. Join us over in the Discord. Hit us up for a link if you're looking to get into that. That's always a fun place to be throughout the week, and especially on race days. And let's go do it.
Indeed.
If Rod could find the button, talk.
I swear to God, I muted myself and I can't unmute myself. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio to everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's Sportsbook Review, whether it's in between media, the back road. I'll be back there with the boys, Seth and Elliot over there hanging out, talking NASCAR as well. And then, of course, Arena League football. Football's not done. For those of you guys who, football's over after the Super Bowl. Nope. There's still plenty of football. The Arena Football League is kicking off again, the rebirth, and we're kicking off the shows with it. So follow me there to find the episodes for that. And, of course, just everything else I got going on in the mix. But more importantly, NASCAR. More this week from Daytona. And we'll see you then. Until then, let's go racing and let it ride.